So I'm with Ashley this morning, and Ashley is a foster carer for a local authority. So good morning, Ashley.
Good morning.
And if you could start by telling me how long have you been a foster carer?
Okay, so I have been a foster carer for 7 years now. And over that, the time has flown by, I have to say. I can hardly believe I'm even saying that. But in that time, I've provided short-term homes, respite homes, and some longer-term homes, all for kind of ages. I think the youngest I've had is 6, the eldest I've had is 17, but predominantly I kind of do slightly older children.
Amazing. So what led you to want to become a foster carer, Ashley? Tell us a bit about your journey.
Um, well, my journey pretty much started within an environment that I was already working with vulnerable children. I found myself through my career um, working more and more with children who are increasingly complex, increasingly vulnerable. I run a charity, and I had a couple of foster carer friends, so we naturally kind of ended up working with children in care, which was a real experience, and really, really rewarding. What I found when I was working with children in care or who were at risk of being in care is that while work was rewarding, it didn't quite give me enough. And there was one young person in particular that will always stick with me, and they were 16, and I'd been working with them for 2 years, and it took them that long to trust me enough to open up about the realities of their home life. I took all the relevant referrals, as you do, from a safeguarding perspective, but they were a bit too old to really get an awful lot of support that I felt they needed. And I just wanted to take this young person home because I could just see they just needed to be taken out of their environment, given a safe place, a supportive place. So that was kind of the catalyst really for me, was that particular young person. And then I'd already had friends that made it look like an absolute breeze and really, really fun, which it is at times. It's absolutely like that. But I knew I had a particular skill set that worked well with older young people. Kind of teenagers. I knew I could be a trusted adult. I knew I could provide a safe and loving home. Um, and I felt I had the skills. So that's pretty much my journey. And then I was like, no, I'll do it. And so
Oh,
off I went down that route. And here I am,
oh,
seven
I'm
years
really
later.
glad you did. Yeah, you foster for a local authority. So with the choice of providers out there, what is it that made you choose to foster with your local authority?
Actually, the choice to local with foster with the local authority was an absolutely critical one when I was considering becoming a foster carer, and I did explore lots of different avenues at the time, particularly because at the time, and I stress right now that this is not the case now, but at the time you could effectively earn more through the local through other agencies. So, but when I looked at it, the benefits of local authority far outweighed that. Firstly, it was really important to me that the local authority don't make any profit from vulnerable children. And from an ethical point of view, that was really, really important to me. I don't think anybody should be profiting from, the children in care. They are the most vulnerable. So that was really critical. Um, but actually, the wider things that the local authority could provide for foster carers, which remain the same today and actually are still the same reasons why I think people should foster with local authority. Firstly, I'm a single working foster carer, and my job is really, really important to me. As you probably just heard, I work with a lot of very vulnerable children who I help. My job is very rewarding. I enjoy it. It's a part of who I am, and I did not want to have to give that up. And local authority were very clear and have been never, non-stop supportive of my job. I did go part-time, which I would advocate for everybody to do, because fostering is a commitment that you need to take, and it does take time. But actually being able to work, a fostering income isn't as secure as paid work. You have to be aware of that. So, having a job for me when I don't have any other income is important financially, and you do need to consider that. But the local authority have always worked around it, but not just worked around it, they've been supportive of it, which is, organising meetings around my commitments. So that was a critical reason. I think the other really major reason for me was actually to do with matching. Um, the local authority always try and match in-house before they seek externally, which for me, the matching, and as I've gone on, this has become more and more important, because I think matching the right children to the right skill set of carers can often mean the difference between a really successful placement or home, and one that can be more stressful for both the child and the carer. So local authority, by fostering with the local authority, it's not that you get first pick, I'm not sure that's quite the way to put it, but their matching processes are more likely to be better than an agency, because they look at their own carers before they seek it externally. And for me, over the years, I've had some absolutely exceptional matching experiences where the child has just been absolutely suited to who I am, and I'm absolutely suited to who they are. And actually, I have children right now that would fall into that. And I think that is because I'm local authority, because they can come to me to start with. So that was really important, a really important thing. And then finally, I think local authority has a much better support network for carers, because they have a bigger team at the end of the day. I'm not putting down any people who work within an agency environment. I'm sure they're all very passionate, but every time I ring the duty number, which is available, like 9 to all day long, and then into the evenings and at weekends, every single social worker knows who I am. Even if I don't know who they are, they know who I am. They know my children, they know what's going on with me. They're always cheerful, they're always supportive. My social workers have always been wonderful. I'm really lucky that I've had some fantastic ones. I've got a brilliant one at the moment, and it's not just my supervising social worker, but the children's social workers know who you are. It's a big team, and you've got a lot of availability of support. Even if your smaller direct team isn't available, there are people, lots of people that can help and pick up, which is really important when you consider for fostering is 24/7. You don't clock off at 5 o'clock. So the availability of having people on call when things are difficult, because inevitably, if there are challenges, it's never going to be 9 till 5. It's going to be at 10 o'clock at night. The ability to have that support is provided by the local authority in a way that I felt that maybe an agency wouldn't have that level of availability.
And I suppose being with the local authority, that means, the support is very local. It's in your community. They're on your
Yes.
doorstep.
Yes, absolutely. Even within, my area, there's a north and a south team. So, there are people that know the area. And yeah, if you need help, they are literally just up the road, really. So, and that again, I'm a missed carer, which is equally, an even more intensive support and wraparound support with that. And that, they literally, if I really, really needed them, they could be out within kind of 20 minutes to my house. Not that really happens often, to be fair, but it is a possibility.
So a missed carer is a carer that would obviously care for children in a more therapeutic based approach because of the children's needs.
Yes, absolutely. So I would identify as a therapeutic foster carer specifically. Obviously, all foster carers are therapeutic to an element because they have to be. But I have a particular skill set which is around therapeutic parenting. So that's very much about firm boundaries, a very, very high nurture approach, low demand, and it's a specific type of approach that suits children who have really complex behavioural, social, emotional needs. So I have been a missed carer only for half a year, or for a couple of months really, although I've been doing this work for a longer period of time than that. But I've eventually decided to actually bite the bullet and become an actual missed carer rather than just kind of doing the work of it, I think. So So yeah, and that's been a really interesting and rewarding experience. It's a certainly more intensive experience than mainstream fostering, um, and but it has a level of support that reflects the intensity of what you're signing up for.
Good. Well, that all sounds really positive and yeah, well done. So can you tell us sort of a little bit more about your experiences of fostering the children and young people that you do? Sort of what's it like, day to day? What kind of things do you do, or what do you come across, including, maybe some of the challenges and some of the rewards as well?
Oh, well, I mean, where do you even start? Fostering is probably the most rewarding thing you'll ever do, but it is also probably the most challenging thing you'll ever do as well. Um, I wouldn't look back at doing it now. It's not like traditional parenting, I would say, because every child in care has an element of trauma, great to a greater or a lesser extent. So you are parenting traumatized children, but the progress that you can make through your experiences and through how you engage with them is just the most wonderful thing to see. When you finally have a child that's been with you and makes just that tiny bit of progress, they might come up to you for a hug where they never have before, or the first time they might tell you that they love you, or the first time even that they try something new, or all of those things. You've had a direct impact on a child because you've become their safe place, their safe adult, and there is just no more rewarding feeling in the world for me than that particular feeling of, I've done this, I've made this impact for this child. On a day-to-day basis, crikey, it changes depending on the child. But for me, it pretty much we have a routine based day, so that it's very predictable for all the children in my care. They know exactly what's going to happen, exactly when. We plan things out in advance, so we have a weekly planner, so they know, for example, that they get up at 7 o'clock each morning, and usually I go in, gently, and kind of wake them up with some kind of joke or the weather report. We get ready, it's the same routine then, and we go to school. Once they get home, we have dinner at 6 o'clock. Every day, again, the meals are planned out. They get to choose what meals they want. That gets put on the board if we've got anything happening, and we do everything. I mean, swimming. It's a bit of a joke in our family that we rarely have a weekend off. Out and about, I have two dogs, which all children absolutely adore. They're really brilliant for kind of therapeutic work and for regulation. We'll go on trips. I recently went to a wild bird sanctuary, just to go and see kind of the animals there. I've been taking children on holidays before. We've been to Butlins, we've been camping, we've been to the Isle of Wight, all over the place, really. And I really want to take children abroad. I've just never quite made it to that point for a lot of different reasons. But integrating them into my family is also really important. And actually something that I think most foster carers should be aware of, that if you choose to be a foster carer, your family haven't made that choice as well. So it's something you do want to consider about how you do that, because these children might find that quite scary. Also, they have a family that they love, and that conflict. So one of the challenges is often that conflict it can generate for children is that, particularly as the attachment grows to you and your life, the feeling of, well, hang on, why and how can I be happy here when I love my mum and my dad and my siblings? So that needs to be navigated quite carefully. I use the phrase consistently, which is, hearts are big enough to love everybody. You can love me and love mummy, and it doesn't mean any different, or love mum, depending on the age. I wouldn't, I wouldn't say mummy to a teenager. Um, but yeah, I think when I think though about my kind of fostering journey, um, I know that the way I approach fostering has changed from when I first started to what I do now, which is only through experience, really. But if I was to give some top tips to new foster carers, I would say not just choose your battles, but really almost chill out about it. I remember when I first started, I had two young people who were 16, and I went in with all the therapeutic thinking and the boundaries and the rules, and I had all of this, like, this is how, and on paper that would have worked wonderfully. Um, I had bedtimes and curfews, and I'm not saying I don't have those now. I absolutely do, and they're needed to make a young person feel safe in what you're doing, that you're in control, that you can look after them, so they can let go of that kind of fear inside them that they're not safe. But I'm a lot more relaxed about it now. Things that, if they don't eat, food can often be quite a big challenge for young people. Do I worry if they have chicken nuggets 3 times a week, 4 times a week? No, I just make sure there's lots of fruit and vegetables available, and we're balancing it, whereas probably when I started, I'd have been like, that's not, I've got to have this perfectly healthy setup of a menu. Now what I recognize is you've got to take your time, be really flexible, really relaxed about it, because that builds, and then you very gently build in kind of these really healthy routines. But you spend the first kind of year really, and it's not a quick process, building the relationship and focusing on the relationship before you kind of really start expecting to see major changes in kind of lifestyle and how children react to things. So yeah, when I look back at it, and I have a good relationship with all the children I've had in my care, who still contact me and still talk to me. So I obviously didn't get it completely wrong, but I do look back at it now and think, oh, they were 16 and they had, kind of like a 9 o'clock curfew on a weekend, which now I have another teenager currently with me, and that's not their curfew. Because I've learned as I've gone along not to be quite as worried about it, and to kind of have that flexibility. So yeah, I mean, probably not huge, it's difficult to kind of say what experiences, because there's just so many over the years,
Mm, yeah.
and they've all
Well, I
been
think
wonderful.
you've given us a great, a great picture there, Ashley. Thank you for that. So, how do you, with such a busy household, busy lifestyle, lots going on, obviously, how do you make sure that, you're resilient and you have time for yourself and can care for yourself really to make sure that you're able to care for the children and young people?
So I think this is again one of the things that has significantly changed over my fostering journey, and I now no longer see self-care as a nice to have. It is an absolute essential, because if I am not feeling topped up, if I am not feeling great, I cannot provide good care. And I'm not saying you can't be human and have up and down days, everybody does, but it is really, really important, and it's something that is, particularly people who do foster, you tend to be the type of person that will go over and beyond, that keep going, that do deprioritize your own needs because they seem selfish, going out for a manicure, going out for a coffee, when you've got meetings you've got to attend, or you've got, shoes you've got to pick up. It seems like, oh gosh, I'm not doing what I should do, but actually it really isn't like that. So for me, I've learned a number of different ways, and it's different for everybody, but I run. I should say I walk fast, and it looks, I say I run, but I do that regularly, and I now prioritize that, and I schedule meetings around my ability to go out regularly for a run in the morning, because it helps my mental health, it helps me feel clear, it also keeps me physically fit. So that's one way I do it. I am fortunate that as a missed carer, I get regular respite. Um, I would, I do think, and I will always be an advocate for time off for carers, particularly if you have children that are more complex. You need time to be able to be yourself. I need time to be Ashleigh Taylor, not Ashleigh Taylor foster carer, not Ashleigh Taylor work, but just Ashleigh Taylor. So for me, those periods of time are really important for connecting with my family and friends, particularly if children struggle with connecting with your wider network. That becomes important, that you don't neglect that. I also am very fortunate that I have a very strong support network around me. My family are exceptionally supportive, and I ring my family to vent, because you need to do that sometimes. So it isn't easy sometimes to find the time or to prioritize the time, I think. But it is important, and having compassion for yourself, that you don't have to be perfect. You don't have to be on all the time. You don't always have to be therapeutic. You will lose your temper and lose your cool occasionally, and that is okay, because it's normal life to do that. It's about how you repair afterwards. It's about how you role model what you do in those moments, and how you come out of those moments. That is really the critical element, to be able to do. And that's also a part of self-care, being able to forgive yourself, but show that to a young person, because they probably will have moments of deregulation. And if you can't manage that yourself, how do you expect a young person to be able to do that, particularly when they're learning how to do that? So yeah, self-care is absolutely critical. It's not a luxury, it's an absolute necessity, and one which has taken me a few years to really kind of recognize that I'm not being lazy or not doing my job well by saying I need to have this time to myself, where I can't attend social services meetings because I need to do X, Y, or Z for myself. Obviously it's a balance, but I don't think it's a balance. Most carers are not ones to kind of go the other way. Take too much time. I think if anything, is trying to get them to take the time they need. So yeah, self-care is really important.
Thank you, Ashley. So, I just wanted to ask you, for people out there that might be, thinking about fostering, or maybe, been thinking about it for a little while and want to take that next step, what would you say to them from your experience?
I would say that definitely do it. Obviously, I think, we need foster carers. It is really, really rewarding. I think what I would say is pick up a couple of books on attachment. That's really helpful. I kind of wish I'd done that before I started. It gives you quite a good idea of kind of what you're signing up for. Do as much training and speak to as many people as you possibly can. If you know any other foster carers, go and sit down and have a cup of coffee with them. Because they will be able to help you and tell you kind of the realities and all the ups and downs, and the things that will make it successful. I think, what I would be saying is go into it, but go into it armed with the knowledge that you need, because that way you will get the experience that you really want out of it, and be really clear about what it is you want from fostering. When I went into it, I wanted, I didn't want children of my own, but I wanted children in my life. I wanted a sense of family. I wanted to be able to feel like I was making a practical difference to young people. And it's taken me a while to kind of figure out how to do that and get those things, but actually kind of being really clear about what it is you want out of this. Most foster carers, I think, go in, and you say all the things, that, oh, I want to have children. I think that's a given. Hopefully you wouldn't be being a foster carer if you didn't want to help children. But what is it that you really want out of it as well? And what is going to make it work for you? Because the local authority are really great at trying to make it work. If you've got the right skill set and the right attitude, they are really flexible, but you've got to ask for it. You've got to talk to them about it. You've got to be able to say, well, look, this is, if you do work and that's important to you, you've got to be able to say, look, this is important to me. How can I, but I want to work around it. How can I do that? Got to make the compromises. As I said, I'm part-time. But actually, yeah, kind of know what you want out of it. And I would say go with local authority for all the reasons I said earlier, because I think they're good for all of that.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Ashleigh, for taking the time to talk to me this morning and to share your experiences. And yeah, keep up the great work. You do an amazing job. So thank you ever so much.
Thank you.